Morweni manene na manene kazi, namkele kele Queen Kubo, and Don Wabile Kakulu, and these are ringside e Monti, and Gekawa, Sisa Kubukela, u Sive Nontshinga, alwe no Regie Suganob, akusele in Chinga Yeshlabati Yake. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the program. I'm a very happy man. This weekend I'm going to be in East London, where we will all be watching Sivenathi Nontshinga defend his IBF World Junior Flyweight title against his mandatory challenger from the Philippines, Regie Suganob. If you are interested in that fight, stick around and let's break it down. Masikazulule umlo apa. Good day, fight fans. I'm always happy when I'm back in East London. That's the mecca of boxing as far as South Africa is concerned. It's our version of Madison Square Garden, I suppose. And we've got our only Big Four sanctioning body world champion defending his title Sunday at the International Convention Centre in East London. And he's in tough. He's not having an easy mandatory defence. He's taking on his mandatory challenger from the Philippines. And that's, of course, the guy we call the Filipino Phenom. And that is Regie Suganob. He's an undefeated fighter. He's got a record of 13-0 with 4 knockouts in it. And then we've got Sive Nontshinga, who is also undefeated. It's hard to get your mind around the fact that the guy's a world champion with so little fights. He's 11-0 with 9 knockouts. And of course, our champion Sive Nontshinga, he is a southpaw. So usually when a world champion wins, they have a gimme title defense. I think that was the idea also for Nontshinga, but eventually it didn't work out like that, and they went straight to the mandatory. We of course know Sivenathi Nontshinga won his world title in Mexico against a local fighter there, Hector Flores Calisto, and he was in an absolute war on the zone, on the streaming service, and he won a 12-round split decision, but he really had to dig deep. He scored a knockdown, and I think that in the scorecards in the end was the difference. But Sive went through an absolute war. I think it's good that he had quite a long rest before he's back in the ring again. And in that fight, he was dealing with a typical Mexican fighter that took him to the trenches and was on his chest all the time. Now, Regie Suganob is a completely different fighter. He's not these come forward, straight ahead, balls to the walls, all action kind of guy. He's not your typical Filipino fighter who typically they attack like Manny Pacquiao from awkward angles and they go for you like an Asian tiger. Regie Suganob is not that sort of fighter. He's more of a stand-up, clever, box from a distance boxer, almost in a European style of fighting. He likes standing up. He likes boxing from behind his jab. He's patient. He steadily advances with that jab. He uses a lot of feints. And his pet punch is the straight right, which he throws beautifully. He times it very well and is very accurate with that punch from a distance. He knocks you on the button. Now he's got only 4 knockouts. Sivenathi Nontshinga's got more. But you got to keep in mind also it's to do with his style. Because in a way, a little bit like somebody, I think Wusem Tolo, when we was discussing Ahmed Al-Musawi, who fought the Rock Nap, was a guy who was a veteran, and of course he wasn't undefeated. But he's also a guy with a few knockouts, but he scores a couple of knockdowns. And in that sense, Suganob is almost the same. He scores knockdowns, but he doesn't knock the guys out. And I think his nature is more to be a boxer. He's a very calculated, cool customer, and he's a very good ring general. He likes to control where the fight is going. Now, he got where he is in his last 2 fights. He beat undefeated fighters. One was Andika, the Golden Boy. That was 19-0-1 going into a fight. He won a wide decision there. And then his last fight against his Filipino countryman, Mark Vasailes. Well, Vasailes was also a 17-0-1 fighter. And because of a clash of heads, of course, the cut on Vasailes, it went to the scorecards in the 8th round. And Suganob prevailed there as well. So that is what got him on this level. If you look at the fighters he fought, The Indonesian Andika, the golden boy, was a guy who just sort of plodded after him. And then if you look at Mark Vesailes, he was a guy who was bigger than Suganob, and he sort of went after him. So against the golden boy, I saw him sort of, he attacks and he goes back in a straight line, and he attacks forward straight lines, a little bit like Kenshiro used to do, although he's changed his style now a little bit. But he looked like that, Suganob. But in his fight against the bigger Vesailes, he sort of had side-to-side movement and step arounds as well. What are the things that Sivenathi Nontshinga can exploit? Now, what I've noticed about Regie Suganob is one punch that catches him is sort of his overhand right over his left. If you go overhand like that looping right hand, as opposed to a very straight right hand that Suganob throws, that is a punch that he's susceptible for. That's a punch that catches him. He's on that angle when he attacks and goes out. So that's a punch that Sivenathi Nontshinga can look out for. And the other thing with Regie Suganob, he's a rhythm kind of fighter. He gets into a rhythm because he's a ring general. He controls where the fight is going. He forces his style on the fight, and he gets into a rhythm. He keeps it in the center of the ring. He keeps moving, and then he's hard to beat, because when he starts pot shotting you with a right. When he hits you with a right, he usually has a second attack, and he goes in 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a left hook to the body. He likes his left hook to the body as well. So that's what he does when he goes to his opponent, and then he's out again. And I think that's why he doesn't have many knockouts, because he doesn't stay there in the pocket for very long. So that's what I'm pretty sure that's what he's going to try and do against Sivenathi Nontshinga. He can fight going back, and he can fight coming forward. I think he's a little better when he fights coming forward. And I think he's going to have a hard time with that against Sivenathi Nontshinga, because Sive can crack. But I think what Sivenathi Nontshinga needs to do, he's got to rattle Suganob early. He mustn't show him too much respect and get into that sort of rhythm where he's controlling the center of the ring. So he's got to jump on Regie Suganob and just go on the inside and hit him with a few shots, go to the body. What I've noticed about Suganob, he doesn't like having his back on the ropes. He tries and gets out of it quickly, and he's not a guy like James Toney who's going to stand and lean and fight off the ropes. He doesn't do that. He gets himself out of it. So if Sive is strong enough to push him backward, in fact, I think Sive has to do what Hector Flores did to him, and sort of get in his grill, work him over, hold him, and then, let the referee separate them, and then start the second attack. Either be all the way out or all the way in. I think the middle range is where Suganob wants to fight. So if I'm Sivenathi Nontshinga, I'm going to look for that right hand. I'm going to be careful about the counters, because Suganob can counter well. And I think his fight has to be basically more on the inside against Regie Suganob than on the outside. And for Regie Suganob, he's got to see if he can force Sive going backward. I don't think he's a huge power puncher, but his knockout ratio indicates that. But I think he is a better puncher than his knockout ratio indicates. As I've said, I think he hits hard enough to knock the guys down. His mentality isn't risk-taking enough to go after him. But I have predicted via his manager that they're going to knock Sive out. Perhaps he's going to fight with more urgency, which he'll have to, fighting away from home. And that'll be interesting to see. So all in all, I think Sive Nontshinga is in another difficult fight. This Filipino Regie Suganob is very, very solid. He's got talent. He's a solid fighter. He's not the typical Filipino fighter who are solid fighters, but I'm talking about the styles. He doesn't have a typical Filipino style, and he's coming to win. And it's a very evenly matched fight. I just think Sivenathi Nontshinga has been through more adversity in his last two fights. So one against Hector Flores, and the one before that against Christian Araneta, where he had to get off the canvas in the last round. And I wasn't lucky enough to be in Mexico, but the 4 fights before that, I was ringside for all Sive's fights. And I even commentated on the one there against Ivan Soriano, which you can see on YouTube. I was on commentary there with Luiso Mcha in the legendary Orient Theatre. But I think Sivenathi Nontshinga is a little bit more ring-tested. I think he's riding the momentum. And I think together with his dad, Tembani Gopeni, who trains him alongside Colin Nathan, I think they will have the right strategy in place, and Sive just has to execute. And there against Flores, sometimes he went a bit of a reservation. He started brawling when they told him to box more. I think this time, the fighter who executes the best game plan, who's got the best game plan, can execute it and maybe move to a plan B is the guy who's going to win. And I, of course, am biased because Sivenathi Nontshinga is my guy. I'm South African. But I do think Nontshinga is going to prevail. It's not going to be easy, though. I think it's going to be not as hard a fight against Hector Flores Calisto in Mexico, not as bruising physically. I don't think he's going to have to visit the hospital afterwards like he had to do there. But I think it's going to be cerebrally, in the mind, strategy-wise, it's a more difficult fight. And so that's why I say it's difficult rather than hard. There's going to be adjustments that will need to be made. He's going to have to fight a more clever fight strategically. And he's going to make sure that he doesn't give Regie Suganob too much time to think. And what do I think will happen? I think Sivenathi Nontshinga is going to win this one. I don't think it's going to be an easy fight. Can he knock out Regie Suganob? It's hard to say because Suganob hasn't been in a situation where he's really getting teed off and hasn't been in against huge punchers. Not that I think Sivenathi Nontshinga is such a huge puncher, but he does hit with authority. So it depends on how good Regie Suganob's chin is. But my feeling is, if I look at him physically, he does move his opponents backward. He does make them go back, even with that low knockout ratio. So I think Suganob is a strong fighter. So I think Sivenathi Nontshinga is going to win this one on points. I don't think it's going to be a runaway victory, but I think he's going to win a clear victory on points and make the people there in East London and myself, who will be in East London as well, very, very happy. So guys, if you like the content, please punch that thumbs up. I will greatly appreciate it. Please hit that subscribe. And also tell me in the comment section, how do you see Sivenathi Nontshinga against Regie Suganob going? Who do you think wins? How do you think they win? Why do you think they win? And then I'm going to leave you here with the nice noise and songs of the fans here in East London. It's always, to me, one of the best things in boxing. And Desi Bonane, Pakamisani Izanga.
The tricolours of black and silver. His weight, 54.75 kilograms, with a professional record that wins 13 wins.